messages that we've been hearing this weekend should just transform our lives going on from this place. So it's not like this weekend ends later on today, but actually that the journey starts and that we have this journey of faith together. So I was starting to think a little bit about what are some of the things that we kind of need along a journey. What are some of the things that I pack when I go out and about the place? And I'm going to share a few of those with you. But I've done it in a kind of way where I think actually this thing, journey, can be a bit of a kind of like a metaphor or another way of explaining what it means to be a person of faith. So some of the things that we need to be people of faith. And when I went to Portugal, and when I travel around the country, and when I'm going to Wales tomorrow, I quite often say to people as I go around the place, oh, where's good? Where should I visit? What should I do? How do I get through the airport? What kind of currency do they use there? Find out all these kind of questions. And someone who's been there before can answer some of the questions that I have. And in the Bible, we find that there are people who we can look to who have walked this journey of faith before. And in this book in the New Testament, we find it's called the letter to the Hebrews. We find that the writer of that book is trying to explain to people, well, you've had this brilliant experience, a bit like Lux this weekend. You found in a way that Jesus loves you more than you could have ever known. What difference then should it make in your life? And this writer in the 11th chapter, right towards the end, starts to go back into the history of the Christian people, the Jewish people, and look for some of these heroes that can teach them about how to walk, how to journey. You all know that the weather has been particularly good this summer so far, so I thought I'd bring some things on my journey to prepare for nice weather. So first of all, let's get a nice summer jacket on. Here you are. Do you want to pop that? It's got a nice hood, just because we've been experiencing quite a lot of rain and stuff, haven't we? Fantastic. Nice and comfy. And do you know what? Actually, I don't think that hood's kind of protective enough. So I think we could probably do with something else. Something like a bit of a shower cap. So how about that? Ready for its journey. Ready for the summer weather. We've got to be a bit protected from the rain because we know it's going to deluge all the way through the Olympics and all the rest of it. So, fantastic. We're going to journey together a little bit. Do you want to go and sit down for a minute and then we'll dress you up a little bit more in a second? And now, who might you think in the Bible was a bit prepared for some rain? Anyone want to yell? Yeah. Noah, fantastic. So Noah was one of the people that this letter to the Hebrews talks about as being someone who had faith. And if you think about it, imagine just going about your business every day, and maybe you're going to school, maybe you're just hanging out with some mates and all the rest of it. All of a sudden, you hear this voice of God saying, build a massive ship, right? And you're going to build this ship in your own kind of backyard, and everyone is going to think you're crazy, but you should just do it because you need to be safe into the future. I think you'd think you'd lost your marbles, wouldn't you? It's a bit of an odd thing to have happened. And as we know, the story is that Noah was prepared for the rain. He came with his wet clothes on and built his ark. And that made Noah stand out a mile. Adam, do you feel a bit silly? A little bit. Okay, you don't look silly, mate. You look very normal. Adam wears this down Cheshire High Street. But Noah had to stand out a mile from other people. And there's something about our faith and how faith impacts our life that means sticking out a little bit. Sometimes the people who were all around Noah were people who didn't listen to God. They were people who were out for their own kind of motives. They were people who weren't particularly nice people to be around. Noah himself had made some mistakes too, but Noah was trying to listen to God. And sometimes when we're trying to live out our faith, go on this journey of faith, sometimes it it might mean sticking out a little bit. I don't know if you've ever turned up to a party like badly dressed or just like not quite got it, what was going on. When I was 17 and 18, there were lots of kind of 18th birthday parties going on. An 18th birthday party was a really big party, and you know, lots of people, you know, have these kind of big events. And I remember going around to my mate Pete's house, and we both got dressed up in these black tuxedos, you know, with bow ties and looking very smart. And we, you know, we kind of felt a bit chipper, you know, wandered into this party. We were like, hey, no one else was wearing like a suit or anything. Everyone was just in like normal clothes, and we had come along, and people just kind of thought we'd lost the plot. We turned up some kind of dinner party or whatever. And it can just be embarrassing. Maybe if you turned up to school on a day when everyone's wearing home clothes and you're still in your school uniform, you know, just that kind of feeling of standing out from the crowd can be a bit embarrassing sometimes. But there are so many things in our lives that we can stand up for when we move on from this kind of week. And it's challenging, but it's really important. I don't know if any of you have maybe felt like people have been gossiping about you or talking about you behind your back. When I was 14, we had this group of mates, and we were all fine one day, and then the next day, all of a sudden, like no one would speak to me. I didn't know why they weren't speaking to me anymore. And it was this really odd thing that happened, that all this gossip had been going on behind my back. Someone had said, oh, let's not, you know, include Matt in anything anymore. I felt completely out of it. And gossip, and those kind of talking behind people's back, can really exclude people and make them feel unwanted and unwelcome. So one of the challenges might be for us to not engage in talking about people or gossiping about people when we go on in our lives, so that people know we're a bit different. It might make us look a bit stupid. It might make us not be part of the crowd. It might make us a little bit like Noah, look like we're building a big ship in the middle of a massive desert. But actually, it's honouring God and it's honouring one another. There's loads of things that maybe we might feel a bit of peer pressure to conform to. I mean, you're all here this weekend because you've chosen to take time out, and I'm sure there's possibly things that you've missed that maybe your mates have been doing or that have been going on, that you kind of feel a little bit, you know, I've got to go to this weekend, and maybe it's a bit embarrassing, but you kind of know it was going to be something that might have been helpful for you or good for you. That's a really practical way in which you've kind of made a difference. You've stood up for what you're doing in front of other people, stood up for your faith. So you've acted a bit like Noah or Adam on our journey. Every Sunday morning can be a bit like that. You know, sometimes I kind of think, oh, I have to go to church Sunday morning, you know. It'd be much nicer to kind of sit in and watch a bit of telly and all of that kind of stuff, you know. Or maybe I'm going out on a Saturday night and it might just be a bit tiring to get up on a Sunday morning. Well, you know, I genuinely feel that when I make the effort to go to church on a Sunday morning, although I might feel like I'm sticking out a little bit, actually, in some way, God is using that and is transforming my life. So where in your life might following God mean